coming off the bench, playing with the second unit that's a lot younger than the Warriors of the past have been, with J.K. and Moses. Just what do you think of their depth, their bench players that you might be playing alongside?
You coaching?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what the situation is going to be yet. You know what I mean? So I think that'll be for us to figure out once we get going.
You've never come off the bench in your entire career. Is that something that you'd be willing to do?
Like I said, it'll be a conversation for us when camp starts or whatnot. But me and Steve have talked or whatnot. But that ain't something that you be like, "What up, man? Where you starting? You coming off?" You know what I mean? So I think we'll figure all that stuff out in camp.
And let me know what
you had one job, CP3. You literally had one job. Everybody, how's everyone out there doing? You see the title, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Golden State Warrior and Chris Paul situation. It's getting pretty interesting. It's getting really interesting. If you love sports and you talk about sports way too much like I do, this is the YouTube channel for you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that post notification bell so you can get notified whenever I upload a video. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with this video. And if you don't know, Chris Paul has been traded to the Golden State Warriors. I made a full video of my reaction to the trade. However, recently, some more stuff has come out. More like 1, 2, 3 few things has coming out that I'm going to talk about right now. But I at first want to address how the Warriors got to this current situation that they're in right now. So, the Golden State Warriors, we had written them off, a lot of us. They struggled in 2020. We know KD just left. Clay tore his ACL twice. And then you got Curry, who got hurt. Draymond Green was hurt throughout the year. But they did some interesting things throughout then. They drafted Jordan Poole, I believe, in 2019, developed him. Then, once they lost KD, they didn't lose him for nothing. No, they traded him to Brooklyn for D'Angelo Russell, and that's important for later on. And then, after they did that, they made a few mistakes along the way. Like they ended up trading, they didn't trade the number 2 pick like we all thought they should have, which they ended up drafting Wiseman. And then after they drafted Wiseman, he did absolutely nothing for them at all. He ended up being a bust and he didn't fit the system. And basically they traded him for Gary Payton. That's basically what happened. And Gary Payton barely played for him this year. He was crucial to their team when they won the title, but he didn't do anything of great for them this year. So you take that into account. They misfired there. They could have got OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. They could have did something like that. But they chose not to. But guess what? Something they did good was they traded for D'Angelo Russell. And them trading for D'Angelo Russell led to them landing Andrew Wiggins because they traded D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins. And Andrew Wiggins came up clutch for the Golden State Warriors. Him and Jordan Poole, they got paid. They got paid because of what they did in 2022, helping them win the NBA title. Andrew Wiggins was an all-star starter, for Christ's sakes. He did a phenomenal job for the Warriors and is a crucial piece to them moving forward. Now, you take the Jordan Poole part of this, and Jordan Poole was great in 2022. However, he re-signed with the Warriors, got paid, and then he ended up getting smacked by Draymond Green. Not smacked, punched. Not only punched, but Draymond Green punched the talent out of Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole never recovered. The Warriors never recovered. It's been a sticky situation ever since, and they paid him a lot of money. So then they put themselves in a position where, hey, it's either Draymond Green or it's Jordan Poole. Who are you going to pick? And I think they made the right decision by picking Draymond Green because Draymond Green's stats might not be the greatest, but what he does for the Warriors, he's the leader of that team. He gets in the head of the other players. He does the dirty work for them. He gets in the head of the other players. He's real competitive, loves to talk trash. Look at his trash talking ability. He was just trash talking Kevin Garnett yesterday. But stuff like that, he does stuff like that. And not only does he do stuff like that, but also his playmaking ability is good. It's really good. And his defense is amazing. Draymond Green is a cornerstone of this franchise. They know it. He knows it. And I'm glad they gave him what he deserved and they picked him over Poole. Now, because they were in this sticky situation, they had to figure out what to do with Jordan Poole. And then that's what led them to getting Chris Paul. So now we're here. We're with Chris Paul. They have Chris Paul. And this is what makes the Warriors interesting. They have 3 options with Chris Paul. And these 3 are all intriguing and interesting to see. Because if Chris Paul really wants to try to win a ring, this is absolutely his last chance. He is old now. I believe he's 38 years old. He is old. He is falling off. He's not the player he once was. I think he knows that, and he should acknowledge that. And he has a history of injuries. So the first option is him coming off the bench. And they mentioned it to him. The other day, I played the video at the beginning of this video, and he laughed it off. And it's like, no, man, that's a real possibility for you. And I say it's a real possibility because it makes sense to have him come off the bench. You already have Curry. You have one of the best starting 5s in the NBA. You really do, honestly. And you don't want to mess that up by adding Chris Paul because someone has to go to the bench. And then, on top of all of that, Chris Paul is injury prone. He's older. You don't want him to play minutes like that. So what I think he should do is he should help the younger second unit out by coming off the bench because he could benefit. Kuminga and the rest of them could benefit from a player such as Chris Paul because of his playmaking ability, because of his high basketball IQ, because Chris Paul makes players around him so much better. DeAndre Ayton is a prime example. Draymond Green said Chris Paul would be perfect because of what he did for DeAndre Ayton. He made DeAndre Ayton a really great center, not great, but a really good center. Now, DeAndre Ayton has been choking lately in the playoffs, but other than that, but why wouldn't he? I mean, Chris Paul, who made him great, chokes in the playoffs, so of course he's going to. But no, in all seriousness, DeAndre Ayton was a bust until Chris Paul came to Phoenix. Now, he could come off the bench, he could help the second unit. Number 2 option is he could start. He could start. The good thing about starting him is Curry can play off the ball, run around, shoot threes, do whatever. Then the trade deadline comes. If he played well enough, then you could trade him for some solid role pieces and then try to go in one more time for a title because, of course, Klay Thompson's contract expires this year. This is last year of his contract, I believe. And then the third and final option is an interesting option to me. You keep Chris Paul, you start him, and you see what happens. And that's interesting to me because we're counting Chris Paul out. We're saying he's too old to start. He should get with the program. He should do what's best for the team. He should go come off the bench. He should do what's best for the Golden State Warriors if he really wants to win. That's the only way he can win. And after this, he has no other option. We said that about him when he went to OKC from Houston. We said this is it for Christopher Paul. This is it for him. Guess what? They were supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league. They finished with the 4 seed. They finished ahead of the Rockets that year. Yes, they ended up losing to the Rockets, but they still lost in 7 games, and on top of that, they were the 4 seed that year. Chris Paul made his first All-Star game in years. Then they rewarded him by trading him to the Phoenix Suns, and instantly the Phoenix Suns were an NBA Finals team. They went from a potential playoff team to a 7 seed, 8 seed, 6 seed, a little fun young team to root for, to getting the point guard that they needed, getting an elite high basketball IQ, playmaking basketball player in Christopher Paul. And that got them all the way to the NBA Finals. So he went on a little overrun. And of course, for what's been happening for the past 18 years happened, injuries and him choking got in the way of them being successful. But at the end of the day, he proved us wrong once again. Now can Chris Paul prove us wrong again? Now, the problem to me, honestly, isn't Chris Paul starting or coming off the bench, even though I talked about that for a majority of this video. That is interesting to talk about. But either way, coming off the bench is perfectly fine. I think it's the right thing to do. However, him starting too is also an interesting thing because, like I said, he could have that fire lit under him again, and Curry can play off the ball, but you have to think, who would you put on the bench? It's a whole lot of other stuff as well that you have to think about when Chris Paul is starting. But the biggest question here, the biggest concern for Chris Paul is his playoff. Him in the playoffs. Whether he's healthy or not, he chokes in the playoffs. Even if he's not injured, he still ends up choking in the playoffs. And something that has been proven to us time after time after time after time is Chris Paul. You will not win the NBA Finals with Chris Paul as your starting point guard. That is what we have learned over the past 18 years. We have the past 18 years to prove it. We have that to prove. He is one of the best point guards of all time. However, he's just not a winner. But you know who is a winner? Stephen Curry is a winner. Stephen Curry has proven that he can win time after time after time after time. So I never think it should be a discussion to put Stephen Curry on the bench. Let alone let Stephen Curry not start at point guard. At the end of the day, Chris Paul doesn't have a ring. Curry doesn't have 1, 2, 3, but 4 rings. Does he have 4 rings? 15, 17, 18, 22. Yeah, he has 4 rings. He is trying to get his 5th ring here. Come on, guys. Come on, let's be real. The real concern here is Chris Paul's playoff history and injury history. And I believe him coming off the bench will lead to him not getting hurt, not getting injured, him having to come up clutch, because let's be real, Chris Paul isn't that clutch anymore. All of that will be going away if he just comes off the bench. And that is the simple solution. But this is an interesting situation that the Golden State Warriors have gotten themselves in. Like I said, it's 3 options they have here. Number 1, he could come off the bench and help the young players. Number 2, you could start him, trade him at the trade deadline for some role depth players and try to contend for a title that way if he's good enough. Or number 3, this lights a fire up under Christopher Paul and he proves to us once again that he still got it. And maybe he proves me wrong and he can be a starting point guard for a championship team. And also, like I said, the biggest concerns, other than all that, for real, honestly, is his injury history and his chokingness in the playoffs. He keeps choking year after year, time after time. He has the most blown 2-0 leads by a player in NBA history. He added to it in 2022 when they got absolutely embarrassed by the Dallas Mavericks. With all that being said, you let me know how you feel about this situation down in the comment section down below. And until next time, Stephen Conner out.